Hey, Changemaker! Welcome to Learning for Good, the only podcast that teaches nonprofit leaders how to leverage training to drive performance, improve capacity, and fuel their mission impact. Do you ever feel like your nonprofit is growing, but your people just aren't keeping up? Or like you're fixing the same problems over and over? Do you wonder how to build confident, capable staff who know how to lead, not just execute? If we haven't met yet, I'm Heather, and I know how hard it can feel to get people to do what's expected of them. Trust me, I have 3 kids. I've tried telling people what to do and how. I've tried the traditional training approaches, and I realized that just doesn't work. And that's when I started researching what does work. Now, I help mission-driven leaders use learning to drive performance, build capacity, and make change that lasts. And I'm sharing it all on this podcast. So block your calendar, turn off your Teams or Slack chat, and let's dive in. It's Learning for Good. There comes a point in every relationship where you disagree. This is normal. If you've ever been married or in kind of a long-term relationship, you're probably nodding your head in agreement. At some point, you're going to disagree. But what if the person that you're disagreeing with is not at home, but at work? And what if they are more senior to you? Or what if they're in a different department where you really have no authority? We have to be able to disagree tactfully and in a way that maintains the relationship. Recently, I disagreed with something that was happening at my daughter's school. I love her school and I love the other moms. So I wanted to share my concern without alienating anyone or causing any sort of division in the group. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how successful I was in this process, but the mom group did remain intact. And that's important. I need mom friends. And you need strong working relationships with your stakeholders. So how do we disagree without causing division? How do we say this isn't a training issue or we're not going to do that without burning bridges? That's what I want us to explore today. Let's dive in. It's Learning for Good. We have all disagreed with our stakeholders at some point in our careers. But speaking up and sharing that disagreement can feel hard because we tend to want to avoid conflict. And I think it's well-intentioned. We want to preserve the relationship, but conflict is good when handled appropriately. And we do have to disagree from time to time. So today we're going to talk about how to disagree without causing division. First, let me say, this works best when you already have a strong relationship with your stakeholders. If the relationship is rocky, every disagreement could be misinterpreted or mishandled. And so you want that strong relationship. If you aren't sure how to build that strong working relationship, I want you to check out a few past episodes and then come back to this one. So the episodes I'm thinking of are what it means to be a good learning partner, 3 ways to turn your subject matter expert into your biggest asset, and working with subject matter experts without the frustration. Those all kind of set you up for a good working relationship with the people, your stakeholders, your subject matter experts, the decision makers, leadership, whoever it is that you're working with, okay? Once you have that relationship in place, it becomes easier to have conflict, to disagree, and to do so in a way that maintains that relationship. So let's talk about when you might disagree and feel the need to speak up, because not every disagreement necessarily needs to be a hill that you need to die on, right? Like some disagreements, it's okay to flex. It's okay to be adaptable. It's okay to not get your way. And sometimes you do need to speak up. So a few situations come to mind when you might need to speak up when you disagree. The first is the stakeholder wants to do something that isn't best for the organization. So maybe they are demanding training when you know training will cost time and money that the org just doesn't have. And there is a different, more efficient solution that you can offer them that will meet their needs. So that might be a time that you want to speak up. Another situation would be the stakeholder wants to do something that would be detrimental to the learner's ability to acquire and use the skills they need. So this is you bringing your expertise in learning design. A third situation might be when the stakeholder wants to do something that would not be accessible or inclusive for the audience. So we want to make sure that everything that we create works for people, right? So if they're trying to do something that's not inclusive or it's not going to be accessible, that is a time that we need to speak up. Now, in those situations, I did not say you're speaking up because the stakeholder disagreed with your color choice or your imagery or your button placement or a word that you use, right? If you use the word of and they want the word for and the sentence still makes sense, we can just make the change, right? You have to give some, you have to be flexible, you have to be agreeable. But if the decision has meaningful impact and not in a good way, we want to be able to speak up. We want to be able to disagree and share why we disagree. The question then becomes how? How do we do that? How do we speak up? How do we say this isn't a training issue or whatever the response should be? So I'm going to go through 4 steps that can help us disagree with our stakeholders. So the first thing is I want you to be curious as you're in this conversation with them, because I want you to discover what it is about their idea that resonates with them. So they came to you, they said, we need a training. It's got to be a training. Why do they want that training? Why do they think it needs to be e-learning specifically? Or why are they convinced microlearning is the way, right? They're coming to you with a specific solution in mind. What is it about their idea that resonates with them? So that's the first thing. Discover what it is about their idea that resonates with them. The second thing is find a way to agree with the reason behind the idea. So you're not necessarily agreeing with microlearning is the answer, right? Or e-learning is the way to go, but you're going to find a way to agree with the reason behind the idea, which is why you had to discover that first. So it might sound something like you want people to access the learning quickly and easily because they're busy. I agree we shouldn't waste people's time, right? You're finding something in their reason that you can agree with. Time is important. We don't want to waste people's time. Let's think about this, right? The third thing is compliment them. But the key here is that you have to mean it. So an example might be, I can see you've thought a lot about this. I appreciate that you want things to be more efficient. You're so good at finding ways to save time, right? You are complimenting them without flattering them because you want them to know that you respect them and you respect their ideas. So this is important. Again, you're not doing it. It's not fake. You're not saying something that you don't mean. But if you can find a way to show them that you value them, you respect them, you value their ideas, you respect their ideas, that goes a long way when you get to the next step, which is to propose your solution instead. So you might say something like, yes, you value their time. I can see that. I can see how much thought you've put into this. That's exactly why I had suggested a job aid. What if we could create a tool that they can access in the moment? That would allow them to get quick and easy access to the information they need so they can get right back to work. So you're proposing your solution in the context of their needs and the reason they brought you their idea to begin with.
Do you wish you could connect with other nonprofit learning and development leaders? I know what it feels like to want someone to bounce ideas off of and to learn from, someone who really understands you and your work. Imagine if you could have a simple way to meet people in the field, ask questions, and share information. That's why I created the Nonprofit Learning and Development Collective, where nonprofit L&D, talent management, and DEI leaders can connect with each other quickly and easily in a virtual space. When you join this community, you will walk away with a new, diverse, and powerful network and a sounding board for your staff development needs. So if you're ready to exchange ideas and collaborate with your peers, come join the Nonprofit L&D Collective.
So other examples might be, what if we look into other options that will be less expensive for the organization and still meet needs? Can I propose something that would require less of your time and still accomplish your goals? To reach hundreds of staff quickly, we may want to consider some other options. Can I share some ideas with you, right? These are ways for you to shift the conversation to other solutions. So we're not necessarily saying this isn't a training issue, or, hey, we're not going to do that. We can't create a training for this. We're not saying that. We're saying, what if we look at some other options? Can I share some ideas with you that would meet your needs? Can I give you some options that will appeal to what it is you're trying to accomplish? So again, our steps here are, we have to discover what it is about their idea that resonates with them, find a way to agree with the reason behind that idea, compliment them and mean it, and then propose your solution instead. And this is meant to be a conversation, right? Now, a couple of things to consider as you're going into a conversation like this. These conversations happen all the time. Disagreements are normal, right? But important considerations as we're thinking about this. To be able to respond to the disagreement and explain your thinking, you need to be clear on what the right solutions or the best options are. If you find yourself in situations where you aren't sure, or you are, but you can't communicate why, that's a great reason, a great way to use the Nonprofit L&D Collective, because you can get answers to your questions and crowdsource evidence when you need it, so that you go into these conversations ready to be able to explain your way of thinking. Plus, if you join at the Catalyst here, you get access to ongoing learning opportunities so you can continue to refine your craft and show up as a strategic partner. In fact, we have a group coaching session coming up in November where you bring a situation that you are dealing with at work, and as a group, we'll talk through whether training is the best solution or not. This conversation in and of itself would give you ideas for how to support your case and when it's okay to flex, right? When do you disagree and how? And when is it okay to flex and be more agreeable? And that's an important part of disagreeing as well. So things that I want you to take into your conversation, let's say you know that you have a conversation like this coming up, things to take into the conversation. Stay calm. It can be really easy to get worked up in conversation like this. We don't generally like conflict as people. And so it can feel like you're being disrespected, or they're not listening to your ideas, or they don't really want you at the table, right? It can feel personal and it can get us worked up, but it is not personal. So we have to be able to stay calm. We also have to be clear. So we need to be clear in what it is that we're proposing and why. Another really good tip here is to keep the conversation focused on the agreed upon outcomes and the disagreement at hand. So if you already have objectives, or if you already have project goals, outcomes that you're looking to achieve, make sure you're constantly bringing those into the conversation, because those are things that you've already agreed on, and that can help anchor the conversation. Also, focus specifically on the one disagreement. Don't bring in other things because that will make it less clear and can make it escalate quickly. So focus on the disagreement at hand. Explain why you disagree, right? It's not just, well, this isn't a training issue. Explain why you disagree. Keep an open mind. Just because you're suggesting a job aid doesn't mean that there's not another solution that you guys can agree on that would also work. So keep an open mind. And then Know when to step away from the conversation. There are times when the conversation just hits a dead end and it's not going anywhere. And you might need to just walk away from the conversation. And I don't mean walk out on them, but step away from the conversation, give yourself some time, give them some time, go back to the drawing board, think more about what it is they're trying to accomplish and why. Think more about your options for how to do that. Think about how you're navigating those conversations and know when to step away and come back to the conversation. Your goal when you're disagreeing is to maintain the relationship, not necessarily to be right. Keep that in mind. That's it for today. I'll see you next time on Learning for Good.
Hey friend, was this episode helpful for you? Did you like what you heard? Do you want more content like this? Here are 3 things you can do. Hit subscribe. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast app of choice. Share this episode with a colleague. This means so much to me personally. I read every review, but it also helps me learn what content you like most so I can create more of what you want. All right, turn that Teams or Slack chat back on when you're ready, and I'll see you next time on Learning for Good.